My name is Ben Hansen. I'm the Profit Doctor. Thank you for joining me for the Profit Prescription and again for this special bonus section. I wanted to bring out a special topic around accounting and the difficulty of relying on standard accounting reports to help you improve profitability. So let's jump right into the bonus, which I took out of the main presentation just because we didn't have time to go deep on this narrow topic. This is a quote by Robert Kaplan. Robert Kaplan is a distinguished Harvard professor and literally a member of the Accounting Hall of Fame. And when a guy who's a member of the Accounting Hall of Fame tells you that standardized accounting reports don't do a good job in guiding managers to manage and improve profitability, you really have got to take a step back and understand what the heck is going on here. So I'm going to dig into this in the next slide. So where did Robert Kaplan get these crazy ideas that accounting wasn't very good at teaching managers how to manage for profitability? Well, there's two key sources. The first one was a company case study that he published on a Swedish manufacturer called Kanthal. About 1,600 employees, $130 million a year in revenue in electrical components. He analyzed very carefully the profitability of their customers, and he produced this curve, which I'm about to explain. And then later, he republished some of these findings with a lot more data in a paper called Measuring and Managing Customer Profitability. In those papers, they found time and time again a very similar pattern emerging from customer by customer profitability analysis. It's called the whale curve. Now let me walk you through it. So the way it goes is the first 20% of customers, this is like 0% of customers, 20, 80, 100, and this is the percent of profitability. So the first 20% of customers, your profitability line goes to roughly 200 and some percent of your total profitability. If you remember the story that I shared in my presentation, where the first 25% best customers that my client had in Operation Dog Catcher were worth 100% of his profitability, and the next 50% were also worth 100% of profitability. It's very much in line with this whale curve. So the first 20% of customers, as he observed, were responsible for more than 200% of profitability. And then the next 60% of customers ended up being about roughly break even. So in his analysis, the first 80% of your customers delivered roughly 200% of your total profitability. And then the last 20%, going from 80 to 100, the worst customers from a profitability perspective, destroyed essentially 100% of your profitability. So the best give you 150 to 300%, the big chunk in the middle, somewhere around break even, and the worst 20% cuts that number in half. This is the whale curve. They've studied it and found over and over again these data points to be accurate for companies, mid-size and large. They haven't studied a lot of small clients or mid-size clients like I have in the 1 to 100 million range. So how can this all be true? Kaplan says that in many cases, your P&L can be correct and it can still be blind, or it can be leaving you blind when it comes to profitability analysis. What he points out is that many accounting reports do not effectively allocate overhead or soft costs. Much of this overhead is spread, quote, like peanut butter across all the customers based on volume or revenue. The problem is some clients have a much greater share of these soft costs or overhead costs compared to others. And because you're evenly spreading the overhead across based on something like revenue, instead of spreading it where it really belongs, you can get the wrong information. And so what happens is the numbers on your P&L can be true and you might not see a single leak. Now, let me just unpack this even further. Kaplan and this case study Canthal and many others that have gone into this data set are generally coming from Fortune 5000 type customers or clients or companies, right? And the reason I bring that up is these guys have really rich and robust accounting systems, accounting teams, scads and scads of accountants and finance people, and they are still not getting to the right data. What I have experienced with 7- and 8-figure companies is that in many cases, the accounting reports that they're looking at may not even be accurate, or they might not even be really looking at accounting reports. So the big takeaway here is that accounting reports in general often, not always, but often are designed, structured, presented, and consumed in a way that does not lead you to the right conclusions, answers, and actions when it comes to optimizing for profitability. This is true in the larger enterprise clients, and I would say even more true more often in mid-sized companies. Thank you again for tuning into the Profit Prescription and even getting extra credit and doubling down and watching this little bonus video. So the big takeaways: accounting reports in many cases are not effectively structured to deliver you the kind of information to really optimize for profitability. And so in many cases, business owners have to turn to another way, another resource, another kind of specialization, perhaps the Profit Prescription, to help you get a deeper understanding of how to dig into this and optimize for profitability.